All right, everybody, we're going to talk about Chapter 6, Part 2, Language and Literacy in the School Years. And we talked about some other areas of importance in Part 1, and now we're going to talk about pragmatics in the school years. This is where conversational competence becomes really important. Use of narrative, storytelling, monologue, so being able to tell a story that has at least a little bit of a beginning, middle, and end, has people that you name rather than just saying her, him, his, hers. Kids are able to have topic maintenance, so you can have several turns with a child about how their day went, what their dog is like, what their family's like. They're able to stay on topic. That's going to lead to extended dialogues. They're going to be able to make relevant comments that when you tell a story, they're going to be able to comment on it, either about your life or make a relevant comment about their own life based on what you said. Kids are going to be able to shift between topics. So, they'll not only be able to stay on a topic, but they'll also be able to change topics when it's appropriate. And they're going to be able to adjust language to the context and the speaker. So they're going to start to talk a little bit differently with their teacher than they do with their friends, than they do with their parents. Right? That code switching is going to start. About different topics. Again, they can talk to lots of different people in different ways about many different things. They're going to be able to adjust to those different people. Again, this is all about code switching, right? Being able to talk a little bit differently to each person, and to anticipate what they know, right? So that if you're talking to your mom, you don't have to give as much background information if you're telling a story about your brother. Whereas if you're talking to your teacher about your brother, you're going to have to give some background information. Being able to anticipate and reply to counter arguments, right? This is kind of a higher level skill that's going to emerge towards the end of elementary school, right? That I'm going to think about, I don't not only have my thoughts, but I'm going to have, I'll be able to anticipate what the other person's thoughts are going to be able to use positive techniques such as politeness and bargaining as strategies to increase compliance. Right? Kids are going to learn that please and thank you have value. They're more likely to get what they want by doing that. And they're going to start avoiding negative strategies such as whining and begging, which are less effective. Competence may exceed performance. So this is really important to remember, that students may be able to understand the rule. They may be able to know the rule and know what they're supposed to say, but they're not actually able to perform the skill. There's going to be an increase in time talking to peers, right? So as kids get older, when kids are 4 and 5 and entering kindergarten, their parents, their siblings are kind of their whole world, but especially parents and teachers are really important figures. As kids move through 1st, 2nd, 3rd, 4th, 5th grade, adults are going to be less important to them, and their peers are going to be more important. So with their peers, children are going to ask more questions, obtain more information, shift to new topics more often, and make more attempts to entertain, especially making more attempts that include humor. Things get more complicated both for speaker and listener. Indirect requests are going to increase. So the teacher might say, it's getting really noisy in here. And what she means is, I want you to be quiet, right? She's not just commenting on the noise. She wants everybody in the class to be quiet. If somebody says, I'm really hungry, they're often not just announcing that, they're actually asking for food, right? If you have food and someone's next to you and they say, wow, I'm so hungry, right? That's kind of an indirect way for asking for food. But if you're very literal, you're going to miss these things. Story grammar, the parts or elements in a story. Again, the beginning, the middle, and the end. There are going to be characters. There's a setting and place, and there's going to be a plot, right? Something happens in the story. You're not just talking on and nothing happens, and you don't really know who the people are that the person's talking about, right? All this is really important. Metalinguistic ability is going to allow the child to go beyond language by using language to think about language, right? So metalinguistic, being able to use language to think about language, talk about language. And the two big things that we're going to talk about are going to be phonological awareness is a metalinguistic ability. And then one really important piece of phonological awareness is phonemic awareness. So phonological awareness, right, we all know this, underlies the ability to manipulate speech sounds, phonemes, and spoken words. These contribute in a huge way to reading and writing development. When instruction in phonological awareness is paired with knowledge of letter names or graphemic awareness, then you have phonics is occurring, which is going to help in reading, right? So when we get the phonological awareness skills that we're going to talk about paired together with letter names and letter sounds a little bit, which is phonological awareness too, that's when kids are going to really increase their reading skills. So in order to develop and increase phonological awareness, the big skills are going to be rhyming, the ability to group words by common sounds, right? So mug and hug and tug, being able to segment sounds or segment sentences into words into syllables, segmenting and blending sounds into syllables and words. And once we start talking about words themselves and within the words themselves, that's when we're talking about phonemic awareness. Phonemic awareness is the ability to focus on and manipulate phonemes in spoken words. Children are going to be able to identify which sounds go with which letters, and this is again a huge skill for learning to read and write. Children are going to be asked to divide words into sounds, to count the number of sounds in a word. We're going to talk more about this in a second, but this is at the heart of dyslexia, right? Kids who have dyslexia have a really hard time with this. Understanding that words are composed of sounds, that words are things in and of themselves, sounds are things in and of themselves, and that sounds combine together to form words, and being able to understand all the difference between each of the phonemes. Right? So here are some sub-skills in phonemic awareness. Phonemic isolation. Tell me the first sound in table, right? Table. Phoneme identity. Tell me the sound that's the same in the words sack, silly, super. Phoneme categorization or comparison. Which word doesn't belong? Blending and synthesis. What word is this? S, k, oo, o. Right? Phoneme segmentation. Being able to break words into sounds, sometimes by tapping or counting. So how many sounds in ship, right? Sh, I, p. 1, 2, 3 sounds. Phoneme deletion. So if you take a sound away, so what is smile without the s? It's mile, right? And then we've got other important factors for reading success. We've got letter identification skills, so just knowing what each letter is. We've got expressive vocabulary skills as a whole are going to be really highly correlated with reading ability. Sentence recall, right? So if you can remember spoken sentences, you're going to have an easier time reading. Syntactic skills are going to be correlated with reading success. Word level processing, right? So that I'm going to understand, for each word and within each word, sounds and also meanings of individual words. That goes right along with vocabulary knowledge. And then we've got synonym knowledge, right? Which word is different? Couch, sofa, table, right? So knowing that things can mean the same and things can mean different things, and also all those narrative skills that we've talked about are also really important as well. And that is it for part 2.